everybody, and welcome back to the TripleJump podcast. It's a video game podcast. My name is Ben.
And my name is Peter.
Hello, Peter.
Hello, Ben. It was your birthday yesterday at time of recording.
It was. I did a celebration of the day when I escaped from the Womb.
Oh, yes. God. I thought you meant you did a celebration yesterday, but only after you'd escaped. You weren't able to start celebrating until you'd escaped from the Womb.
Is that not something that everybody does? It's like a sort of a birthday escape room where everyone's in a giant reproductive system, yeah, and you have to escape out of the Womb before the time limit runs out. Otherwise, you don't get cake. You don't get cake.
No, you don't get cake. That's how everyone celebrates their birthday. Underground, overground, wombling free. You have to be free from the Womb before you can celebrate.
It's true. That's what that show was all about, actually. There's a lot of subtext there, but you got... Anyway, this is a video game show, we promise. Each and every week, we are sponsored by a different relevant video game entity, and it's totally real, and shut up. Peter has the ad read for this week right in front of him.
I've got it right here. It's mostly just blank paper, actually.
Is it?
Oh, no.
Oh.
It says Cluck and Bell down here at the very bottom.
Just that?
Of the last... I don't know, that's all it said.
No.
How am I supposed to... How do I work with this? What do I do? What do I do with this? It's just a brand name.
This is ridiculous.
Maybe we need to reverse engineer... Maybe I need to work out what this product could be. Cluck and Bell sounds to me like a service that provides alarm clocks that while you're asleep and you want it to wake you up in the morning, it says instead of beep 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 beep, it says cock-a-doodle-doo.
Hey,
so
that's it.
Going purely off the brand and having no details sent to us whatsoever by the client. This week we're sponsored by an alarm clock company who sell sort of automated cockerels.
Brilliant. I mean, what else are we meant to deduce from the very few facts we had there?
Difficult one.
Well,
yeah,
that's real. The
I do have
alarm clock.
I do have one extra detail for you, though.
Yeah.
According to this, it's fake.
Oh, you scamp! No, you didn't.
Oh, I got you good. I got you there.
I always fall for it.
Every time.
You idiots at home, how could you fall for that? No, of course, we are sponsored, as we are every week, by our wonderful patrons over at patreon.com/Team TripleJump, where for as little as $1 per month, that's 25 cents per week, or your local equivalent. It's not a lot. You get access to the podcast post I put up on a Tuesday. We get your questions from there. We record on a Thursday. Only $1 a month. We have other tiers available. Would obviously be super appreciative of your support at any tier, or even just listening and telling other people about it. It doesn't matter. But the show is brought to you by the patrons such as
Jack Statham. I mean, anyone with the surname Statham. I'm sure Jack gets this all the time. They must be related to Jason, right?
It's got to be true.
It's got to be Jack. I bet that happens to you all the time. And the reason it happens is because it's true. Jack says, "Hey, Ben and Peter. Hope you're doing well. I've recently bought Hogs of War, the card game, and was wondering if you have any games that you would like to see turned into a board/card game version. I didn't know there was a Hogs of War card game until we were asked this question."
See, this is why I grabbed it, because I thought it would be of great interest to you. I don't know, I haven't looked any more into it, but I thought that was quite a revelation. Let's have a look. Hogs of War card game. Yeah. Oh, it looks like it's recent.
I looked. I googled it when I saw that question, and there's certainly a tabletop simulator version where there's cards and tokens and things. I think you might be able to get it separately as well, but it's definitely available in tabletop sim, which is interesting. In fact, talking of Hogs of War, before we get into this question, this week maybe we should be walking somewhere like that, shouldn't we?
Oh,
We've not talked about where we're walking yet.
Yeah, I saw it on the running schedule. I thought, we're going to have to go back to that after the question.
Yeah, well, let's do it now. Maybe we should be walking across some sort of World War I battlefield.
Oh my goodness! Can we be in black and white as well?
Yeah, I think we should be.
Oh, fantastic! Do you have a particular war zone that you're fond of, that you remember?
Oh, God, I mean, they're all equally.
They're all up there, weren't they?
All equally adjective, yeah, something.
Top-notch war, that.
Yeah, what a lovely war. What about, the muddy one? That one that was really muddy?
Oh, yeah, I think they call it the Song.
Yes, right, the Battle of the Song.
Yeah. Okay, We'll go to the Song.
Okay.
Just make a note. Walking across a tasteful the Song.
Yeah, which may just involve you not actually getting a photo of the song, just a photo of a muddy field.
Yeah, I suppose that will do, won't it?
Yeah, because who's to know?
Not me.
None of our listeners were there.
No, only you.
Only me. Yeah, I'm the only one. So Hogs of War is a card game. That's good to know. I might give it a try at some point. Yeah, I've been thinking. There's one game that I have always thought would make a really good card game since it came out way back in 2003 on PC. It's a game I've thought about streaming as well. Don't know if we've ever talked about it. It was called Impossible Creatures. Are you aware of Impossible Creatures?
No, I'm not.
Impossible Creatures was a PC game. It's available on Steam. I think I've got it, actually. I certainly have my old hard copy. Where you were able to combine animals in exactly the way that you used to combine animals when you drew them when you were about 8 years old. Like, a rhino with a scorpion's tail and pincers.
Right.
Or, a shark, but it's got the head of a tiger. Mm-hmm. That is literally what you can do. And it's way more versatile and, like, mechanically competent than you would think than it sounds. Like, it sounds like, okay, you can do that, but can you really? Like, no, you really do get two animals side by side on, like, the left and right side of the screen, and then in the middle there's this big version of the animal that you're making, and on the left and right you just tick, like, head, tail, arms, or whatever on either the animal on the left or the animal on the right, and in the middle it generates an animated 3D model, like a proper 3D model that can move around. It can, like, swim or fly or walk, and then you go into, it's an RTS game, and then you go into RTS mode and you just build armies out of, like, several different hybrid creatures.
Jesus, it sounds like you're playing. Are you playing God?
It is like playing God, G-O-D, himself.
Me, how blasphemous.
Yeah, and in the single player mode, you have to go out and, like, dart animals in the wild.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
To get their DNA. But there's like a creature creator mode, which isn't part of the campaign, and you have all of the animals available to you. And there's like 40 or something. And then they released an expansion pack later on that had another, 12 or something like that. So I've always thought that would make a really good card game where you could, like, spend most of the time, or, maybe 50% of the time, sort of walking around a map, possibly sort of darting animals or, like, looting like old laboratories, and you find, like, scorpion tail or rhino horn or, things like that, and then you put them all together to make a creature, and based on what parts you use it's all on cards, and based on which cards you use to make a creature, it's got different stats and abilities and stuff, and then you fight them against your opponent.
You got to find out which one's stronger.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that sounds good.
Yeah, I've kind of always wanted to play that game, and maybe it exists in some form. Like, there might be something a bit like that out there already. But yeah, I think Impossible Creatures would be a great card game.
Nice.
Yeah.
I thought we could segue quite easily into talking about a board/card game that I'm already quite glad exists, which is the Dark Souls board game.
Yeah.
The time we played it at Scott's house, Scott from What Culture, when we used to work there, we went over to his house and we played this Dark Souls game, and we learned afterwards that we didn't do the rules correctly at all.
Yeah.
But it was amazing with all the minifigures and stuff, and you can buy the minifigures now separately online because they're so detailed. People paint them and sell them.
Yeah.
And I just think it's such an inspired idea, and there's a Bloodborne one as well, and I'd love to try that too. But the problem is that you need to be, and this is no slight against Scott, of course, but you need to be with someone who knows exactly what they're doing to just sort of hold your hand and walk you through it.
Yeah, well, when we played it, I think it had only just come out. I don't think Scott had even played it himself yet, so that's why we all struggled. So it's definitely not a slight against Scott.
No, 100%.
Fresh off the presses at the time.
We had Well, I think we got sent it, didn't it? Or did he buy it? I wasn't sure if he bought it or got sent it. Either way, it was very early on in that game's life cycle that we played it. But we used to run in the same sort of board game group, Peter and I, that we would play occasionally outside of work together. And he had tons of board games, and he was amazing. He'd just hold our hands, literally, and drag us kicking and screaming through these games. And I think with a game like that, or any board game really, it helps to have someone who's super well versed in it who can just help you through it. And I would love to give that game another go at some point, playing with the correct rules and so on. I just think it's really fascinating how they've managed to translate the gameplay of Dark Souls and Bloodborne into a board game.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's not an easy feat, and it's also not easy. You can't just take any game, like me and you can't necessarily pick our favorite games of all time and go, oh, I'd love to see that in board game form or card game form, because sometimes they just don't translate well enough. Call of Duty probably wouldn't be a very good card game or board game. There might even be one because it's that much of a big franchise, but my first thought would be that wouldn't be very good. I'm now going to have to find out whether there really is one now that I've just slated the idea. I
want to play a Minecraft board game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Roll for initiative. Oh, sorry, your shovel broke. Oh man, it's just like the real thing.
There is a Call of Duty Black Ops free-for-all card game.
Fantastic.
By the looks of it.
Of course there is. There's always going to be a card game.
Yeah.
Son of a gun. Literally, son of a gun. Well, thank you very much for that question, Judge Stotham. It's time to move on to a section that's never been attempted by human beings in recorded history. It's called What We Playin'.
Scarlet Fire.
It's time for What We Playin'. Peter, what you playin'? Question mark, exclamation mark, tilde.
Maybe you should be asking me what I finish in this week.
Go on.
It's happened. I finished on stream Resident Evil 3.
Nice.
I enjoyed that game overall. I managed to get like 8 or 9 hours out of it, even though a lot of people said it was really short. I guess I'm just bad or spent a lot of time. I think
you're probably smelling the roses, right?
Yeah, I was definitely doing a lot of that. I mean, I was running back and forth, like going, oh, there's a little bottle of like gunpowder in that room way back there. I better go and get it. And, meanwhile, I'm being literally chased by Nemesis in the middle of a semi-scripted event. So I definitely got time out of it. I, as I've said for the past 3 or 4 weeks, I really love that engine and the clean HUD and UI on the inventory. And it looks really good, that game. Gameplay wise, it's not Resi 2, but overall, I was really pleased with it. I had a good time. And little detail as well, something that, I don't know. This is a very minor. I think I can talk about this. It's not a proper story plot point, but it's a little Easter egg that hints at maybe Resident Evil 4. So plug your ears if you don't want to hear this.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm not listening.
In one of the labs under in the sort of final area of the game, there was a note that said that Nemesis. Part of like the way that they made him was by using parasites in him, which it wasn't just the T virus. It was like they used a parasite on him to control him, and obviously that's what happens in Resi 4. That's all parasite-based zombies. It's not like Umbrella zombies at all. So the people in my chat were saying, "Oh, well, that wasn't in the original game. That's a kind of new note that they've added in." So it looks like maybe they're intentionally trying to link it all together, and that might not necessarily mean that they're going to make a Resi 4 remake, but at least they're trying to sort of try and tie everything up a little bit neater than it has been maybe over the past 10-15 years, because it's one of those franchises, isn't it? I compared it to Kingdom Hearts to an extent during the stream. It's not quite Kingdom Hearts, which really is a mess, but Resident Evil has had a lot of branching paths and blind alleys and spin-offs and things that, like, God, it really didn't need to do. So I think it needs tidying up a bit. And I'd really like to think that they're going to maybe take things back to basics, do a few more remakes maybe, and then use that as a as a point to go forward without all the kind of complicated spin-offs and stuff. They can kind of semi-forget those and sort of retcon them without officially retconning them.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's intriguing to see where they're going to take it next. And as we've said, Resi 4 doesn't need a remake, but if they do it, I'll be really excited that they're doing it, just because it's an opportunity to play it again in a slightly different way. So,
yeah, definitely.
I'm looking ahead to that.
It'll be your the closest equivalent for you, I imagine, for the Final Fantasy VII remake.
Yeah, guess so. Yeah,
it's like a beloved game of yours. I know, obviously, you've had Spyro and Crash, but as platformers, there's not much really different they could do with those. But here, they could like completely reinvent the wheel with. Resi 4.
I think they would to a certain extent. I think if they do it, it's not just going to be because otherwise it would effectively be a remaster, and that game is already available in HD. So that's intriguing. I've also played a little bit of Minecraft solo. I know you've been on and off doing bits and bobs here and there outside of our multiplayer stream, and it made me think, God, I have a lot of fun when we're playing it together. I've got a bit of a hankering to play it myself as well now, solo. So done a little bit of that. Nice. Just
what are you building?
Well, I'm playing survival mode. I'm playing like proper survival, so it's all quite functional at the moment, rather than like, I think you built a fish tank, didn't you, and stuff like that.
Hey, it's an aquarium. It's at least 6 fish tanks, okay?
Yeah, I guess a fish tank would just be like 6 blocks of glass and a piece of water.
Very sad collection of fish, yeah.
Yeah. So I've got like sort of practical, boring things like a tree farm and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm mining, I'm smelting, doing all the stuff, looking out for monsters. So yeah, having a really good time.
Excellent. And we'll talk more about Minecraft and its soothing powers later on, actually, in a question we've got. But we will. It is very therapeutic, that game.
Yeah.
It is Thursday, my dudes, which means we'll be streaming it later today at the time of recording anyway. And I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, I always do.
It's going to be nice. It's going to be dead nice.
Yeah.
Is that what you play?
That's what I play, which means it's now time for you to say what you play.
I will tell you what I play. I played a little bit of Dark Souls 3, and I've not gone back to that game for a while, and I was not very good, by which I mean I was fine, but I may have been imbibing a little, and I might have been a little bit intoxicated, and I was struggling rather terribly, but it's still, it's a phenomenal game, and I really, really like it. It is, for me, the pinnacle of the Dark Souls series. It's very, very, very good, and I like it a lot. I played quite a lot of, actually, Call of Duty Warzone yesterday with some old school friends.
Old school friends.
Old school friends.
I see.
And because it was my birthday, and I was like, well, I've got plenty of time to kill today. Let's put out some feelers and see who's around and who wants to play some Warzone. So I had myself and 4 other friends, but you can only play as a team of 4 maximum. And one of the, and this is some problem solving, and isn't the current video game climate actually quite magical time now, what I'm about to describe, what we ended up doing. So there was only 4 of us that could play at once. One of us was playing on Xbox, so they were doing crossplay. So we're playing with someone not even on PS4 already. Right. Pretty cool. And so basically what we did is we played as a team of 4, and I was allowed to play every game because I was the birthday boy, and the Xbox guy was allowed to play every game because he was on Xbox. But the 3 other PS4 players, whoever got the lowest score in our team in a round, had to sit out the next round. And I would then share play my perspective to whichever PS4 owner wasn't playing that round, so they could still sit in the chat and they could still watch my perspective and join in the conversation and be involved and spot stuff. And we played for 3 or 4 hours yesterday evening, and it was super fun. And that game is a lot of fun, but I can understand if you take your battle royales very seriously, how actually it might not be a lot of fun and quite frustrating. But I really enjoyed myself, and I think it's just a very, very polished game if you can get past the sort of 12-inch thick menus, which have menu upon sub-menu, pop-up upon pop-up. There's 12 different buttons you can press to view invites and friends lists and stuff. It's awful. It's so free to play. It's peak Activision.
It would be better as a card game, surely.
It would be way better as a card game. I was actually thinking, when you said there's probably a Call of Duty card game, it's like there's got to be top trumps. But given how much Call of Duty fetishizes war anyway, it would probably just be a marketing campaign for like gun manufacturers, because you just have stats about guns, you know?
Yeah.
How cool is Captain Price on a scale of 1 to 10? Well, I win because Captain Price is the coolest character. Well, I got the one with the ghost on his face. I think he's called Ghostface or something.
Yeah.
Remember the one called Soap? Which one is the cleanest? Well, Soap's got the highest clean rating, so he's the winner there. Outside of Warzone, like you said, I've played a little bit of Minecraft, just flip-flopping around in there, and it's lovely. Just some nice chill game. Oh, also Final Fantasy VII, the original as well. I'm near the end of the first disc.
Yeah.
I'm not like playing it every night, but it's something I can dip into every now and then. It's still great. I like it.
Oh, very good. Well, that's what we play in, apparently. That was very, very efficient.
I think so.
It's time for another question, I think. Do you want to read it?
I do. We both actually took one of these yesterday. We took a Caleb holiday.
We did.
This is from Caleb Holiday. Thank you very much, Caleb. What current gen games would you like to see a remaster/remake of in 10 years' time? Maybe a game was a little before its time and would benefit from the improved hardware, or maybe you just had a ruddy good time playing it and would love to play it again. Thank you, Caleb.
Thank you, Caleb. I thought this was a really good question, but also, in some ways, one of the hardest questions we've ever been asked.
You've had most of your childhood games already.
Well, yeah, not even, but I mean, like, obviously, current gen games, you know, the point is, I was racking my brains going through all the current gen games and thinking, man, I can't think of, like, either the games are really good and it's hard to imagine them remastered or ever needing a remaster. So, you know, something like Spider-Man was a great game.
Yeah.
How would you improve upon that, other than maybe graphically?
I have bent the rules ever so slightly, I would say. I'm including last gen. I'm including PS3 as well.
Oh, okay, yeah, because, I mean, maybe I should have done that too. So I was sort of racking my brains, because I thought any game that's like good enough for me to want to play it again, if it ever gets remade, is already so good now that it's hard to imagine what improvements could be made. But I came up with a couple. Number one, Little Nightmares.
Oh, yeah.
I think that game was, for the most part, really good, but just a little bit clinky-clunky here and there, just in terms of controls, and some of the physics were a little bit off. And it would maybe be nice for it to have a bit of extra content as well anyway, just to sort of extend it. I know there's a sequel coming out soon, but in any case, if they either remastered or remade Little Nightmares in a few years' time, I would definitely be interested in playing it again. And then a game that I never even got round to playing, but I know from sort of reviews and what I've seen about it, would definitely benefit from a few hardware improvements, potentially, is A Plague Tale: Innocence.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the rat game.
Yeah, that looks really good.
It looks really good, and I keep meaning to play it, and hopefully I will get around to it at some point. But I'm just aware of the fact that, you know, they certainly did what they could in terms of the swarming rats mechanics, and, you know, they've done a very good job with, you know, the resources available to them. But I just think if you remade that game in 10 years' time, you know, the possibilities for controlling that sort of stuff would be, God, I mean, I think by then I'd like to think we'll be able to have, you know, individual rats behaving in like individual ways, rather than what was probably just very clever kind of liquid mechanics almost.
Yeah.
I think they actually did say they designed it when we went to a talk with the devs for that game. Seems like years ago now. I think they did say, oh yeah, they essentially just behave like liquid form. So, you know, in 10 years' time, the AI and the processing power available, I think that game could be incredibly sort of scary and overwhelming, but also impressive.
Yeah. Awesome. One that's always developing, and one that we have spoken about already, and we're going to talk about again, and we can't seem to stop talking about at the moment. But think how different Minecraft 10 years ago looks to now.
Yeah, I nearly said Minecraft. Yeah.
And I know it's not technically a remaster or a remake, but certainly as probably the best example of games as a service, but not being horrible. or nasty, a game that just continues to develop, that you could have bought once in 2009 and could still be playing the same version today, but massively updated. Just imagine what it's going to look like in 2030, because it will still be going. I can't imagine it's going to stop anytime soon.
Yeah,
it's just too big to fail. So I'd like to see what that looks like. Being very cheeky and hopping back to sort of PS3 era, which was still within the last decade thereabouts. I think BioShock deserves for want of a significantly better phrase, glow up.
Right.
It's still beautiful, and I think that's part of its charm. But imagine how amazing it could look on PS5 or Xbox Series X. That would be amazing. The one I want the most, though, is Dark Souls. I would like to see Dark Souls remade, even now, just from the ground up. I'd like to see that remade. So much of that game is the mechanics are finicky because they're sort of unlike anything else. But when you get used to it, it's really satisfying. So it would be difficult because whoever handled it would have to make sure that it plays exactly the same while looking really good. And that may not translate, just like Final Fantasy VII Remake. The gameplay of the original Final Fantasy VII would not translate to a game that looks like what we got with Final Fantasy VII Remake. So they've had to completely change it around. So there will be a difficult middle ground or a difficult balance to strike there. Although the closest we're going to get very soon, if all the billions of rumors are to be believed, is that Bluepoint Games are remaking Demon's Souls. And that'll be a pretty good judge of how that can sort of translate into the modern era, at least. But if anyone can do it, Bluepoint Games can, because they're miracle workers, and they're amazing. But that's what I think.
Well, if I quickly off the top of my head delved back one generation, which I think was probably the right thing to do, actually, I would play Oblivion over again for sure if that came out remastered. It wouldn't even need to be remade as such. Like if they just sort of, or maybe, just remastered, in a really nice way.
Yeah.
Also, I thought just now, Uncharted, the original trilogy, we've had them remastered, of course, in the Nathan Drake collection. But what they could really do with is just a few gameplay tweaks. So if in sort of 5-10 years' time, I don't think it's ever going to happen, but if they actually essentially remade those rather than just remastered them and just sort of fixed a few of the bits that haven't aged as well, especially in comparison to Uncharted 4, that would make all the difference, I think. Because you go back and play those now and you're like, yeah, these are good, but God, Uncharted 1, you just kind of start shooting in the first level and then eventually stop shooting in the final level and then go, oh, I've done it now.
Yes.
This is it. And then the other game that one of my favorite games of the previous generation was a launch title for the 360. I think it was a launch title. Was
Rockstar Tennis.
Yes, of course. Condemned Criminal Origins, I think, was a launch title. And God, I bring that up every sort of 6th podcast, but it's such a good game, and I'd play that again in a heartbeat. I will do. It's a faff, isn't it? How am I gonna? I guess there's a 360 emulator.
Is it on PC?
I was just thinking that. I'll have to look that up. If it's on PC, I'll try and give it a go. But those are some older games as well that I would love to see in some new form.
If I were to put this question on a torture rack and absolutely stretch it to its limit and jumped back a generation before PS3, this is one that I mention all the time, and I won't stop until they actually do it. And I sincerely believe that if Konami want to get back into people's good graces, this is how they do it. They bring David Hayter back as the voice of Snake, and they do a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3, the best Metal Gear Solid, in the MGS5 engine. A ground-up remake, identical basically, with the gameplay tweaks that were introduced in MGS5. You've got David Hayter back as Snake. It's beautiful. It's got the best soundtrack. It's got the best story. It's the best Metal Gear Solid game, and fans would... I feel like they'd probably forgive Konami in a heartbeat if they actually pulled the trigger on that. I don't know why they're not doing it. I mean, I don't know why they've done anything. I suppose that's part of the problem. But, if they did do that, I think it would be a very, very wise business decision.
I agree, and would also like to add, Condemned Criminal Origins is available on Steam.
There you go.
Oh, I've got to stream that now, definitely.
Fantastic.
It's a bit spookums, but yeah, it's a great game.
Oh, well, bring something that I introduced with the Bioshock streams that I did is that everyone has to bring along a fear friend. So everybody buddies up in the chat. So there's already a pre-existing fear friend system established within the community. So everyone will be brave together to watch your spooky streams.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to know. I'm really glad that... I don't know why I never checked that, because a lot of so-called exclusive games for Xbox are available on PC.
Yeah, they are. They are console exclusive. Yeah. Whatever that means.
Exactly. Yeah.
Blimey. Anyway, great question, Caleb. I hope you enjoy your holiday.
Yeah.
It's time to move on to something really, really weird.
Smells weird. I can smell the weird from here.
What is it? What is that smell?
I don't know, but I've got some papers in my hand.
Yeah?
Yeah?
What are we going to do with these papers?
Stack them. It's time for weird news.
It's weird news time, everyone. Time for some weird video game news from around the world. I mean, the name of the section speaks for itself, but just in case you're an idiot, basically we both bring along a piece of gaming news that's very strange, or the strangest that we can find within, 5 minutes of looking on the internet. Peter's got one, I've got one, and Peter's going to go first.
Oh, thank you. It's Luke Plunkett from Kotaku, because of course it is.
Yeah.
And keeping with the because of course it is format, Luke Plunkett's actual wording in his headline here is, "It's 2020, so of course an armed Pokemon was at a lockdown protest."
Okay, I've seen this going around, but I don't know the context.
So instead of the headline just being "Armed Pokemon at lockdown protest," Luke Plunkett is clearly just so sick of 2020 already that that's how he decided to write it. But here we go. Yeah, this is Kotaku. Unfortunately, as well, I should say, this is somewhat of more of a visual story, which they don't make the best podcast weird newses, but here we are. So what are you going to do about it? You can do some Googling yourself. Right, so here we go. Because the United States of America is a rapidly failing state, one incapable of performing even the most basic civic functions, a stay-at-home order issued by the governor of Michigan, like those enacted everywhere else around the planet to save lives, has been met with armed protests and armed Pokemon. Among the small crowd of assholes, crackpots, and MAGA chuds, what does MAGA stand for? Something about
make America great again.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah, God, I forgot all about that. Unfortunately,
I'm so sorry I had to remind you.
Yeah, thanks. And Make America Great Again chuds that gathered today outside the Michigan Capitol, ostensibly to argue that Governor Gretchen Whitmer's lockdown orders are infringing on their personal liberties and threatening the state's economy. The Detroit News spotted this Pikachu. Normally content to employ Quick Attack or Thunderbolt, on this rainy day, it was carrying an AR-9.
Nice.
And there is a tweet with a photo of Pikachu, which I will send you on Slack.
Thank you.
Those of you listening to the podcast will be able to see the link to this article.
Oh, for Christ's sake. It's not even a good Pikachu costume.
No, it's all sort of bloated and...
What's he even going to do? Right, okay. 2 questions.
Yeah.
Where's he going to put that gun? Mm-hmm. He hasn't got a strap. There's no holster. And also, how's he going to aim it? How's he going to shoot it? How's he going to hold it? He's barely able to hold on to it in that costume.
He's sort of clutching it to his chest.
He's not even holding it right.
He's got no fingers, really, for dexterity. There's just sort of a few little nubs on the end of his big Pikachu hands.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh my God. I've just scrolled down. I didn't realise there was more to this story, but...
oh, God.
So Luke Plunkett embeds that tweet in the article and says, here we go, there's a picture, and then puts, "I just can't anymore. Here are a couple more shots from another Detroit News reporter, and this is possibly the best image of a gun-wielding Pokemon I've ever seen."
Okay.
It's taken from so far away, but you could just see Pikachu walking down the street with a gun.
I don't like his regular human feet.
Yeah, it's so strange.
That's
his
awful.
little little legs.
Is he walking past a child? Is he walking past a child holding a gun just out in public? Is that
possibly?
Is this a thing? Why is this even allowed? I don't understand
know
how these people aren't all thrown in jail for being idiots.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Luke ends with, if there's ever a definitive book on the country's effed up response to this pandemic, I hope Morrison's photo is the cover.
Wow.
Andy Morrison being the person who took that first photo of Pikachu with the gun on his chest.
Unbelievable. That would make the perfect title and thumbnail for this podcast. But YouTube probably won't let us have a gun on it.
No.
On the thumbnail.
Sadly not.
That's really sad. But we will link to the article in the link dump, so please go and look at that photo.
Yeah.
And pay your respects to the editor of Weird News at Kotaku, Luke Plunkett, who continues to go above and beyond for us.
Yeah, thank you, Luke.
Thank you so much, Luke.
Ben, have you got a weird news?
I do. The headline's actually changed now because the story's been updated, which is useful, but I'm going to have to make up the original headline because otherwise it just gives away the whole story, basically.
Okay.
So, let's just go with footage has emerged of Gears of War 3 running on PlayStation 3.
Okay.
Here we go. Are you ready?
Yeah.
This is from Push Square and Sammy Barker. We know that one, and we know that one.
Yes.
This is the original story here. Well then, Gears of War is well known as one of Microsoft's tentpole franchises, but the Redmond firm didn't outright own the franchise until 2014 when it acquired the intellectual property from Epic Games. Up until that point, there had always been rumours that the series may one day appear on Sony systems, and apparently the Unreal Engine maker started work on a port for the PlayStation 3. Embedded above is a full playthrough of Gears of War 3, supposedly running on a PS3 development kit. It's buggy and unfinished, you'll even still see Xbox 360 button prompts, some references to Xbox Live, but it dates back to May the 19th, 2011, which is roughly 6 months prior to the threequel's original release on Microsoft's system. This is an Epic-made build of Gears of War 3 for PS3, explains leaker Proto in the YouTube's video description. As far as I know, I'm the only person with a working build of this particular data as well. I don't know why it exists, I don't know why it was made, all I can do is speculate. He goes on to explain some of the bugs and issues present in this build. And then we've got an update. It didn't take long, but Gears of War creator Cliff Bleszinski has commented on this so-called PlayStation 3 build of the series' third game, claiming that he's 99% sure this is fake. He added, "You'll need to ask Epic Games boss Tim Sweeney. It may have been a test for the engine or something, but I doubt it. The debate rumbles on, blah blah blah. There's been another update."
Oh.
After a back and forth between various sources, Epic Games has told Kotaku editor Stephen Totilo, that the PlayStation 3 build of Gears of War 3 embedded above is real. However, it was never planned for release. This footage is a byproduct of Epic's internal Unreal Engine 3 testing process, which utilized both Gears and Unreal Tournament and was never part of any actual product work for PS3. So there you have it. This really is Gears of War 3 running on a PS3 dev kit. Unfortunately, it was never intended to see the light of day.
So they were just doing sort of some Unreal Engine tests on PS3, and they happened to be using a build of Gears just as a test pilot in a sense.
Yeah, it sounds like they were just using games they'd developed in-house to test out the system. But that's super interesting, and that YouTube user is extremely lucky to have that code, because that's got to be very rare to see an Xbox exclusive running on PS3, even if it's a bit weird. But just thought that was really interesting. A proper little curiosity from the gaming world.
Yeah, definitely. Very strange and weird.
Weird
news.
So weird.
Oh, well, let's move into slightly less weird territory, but we'll see. We'll see how we get on. This is from Carrie Buchter. I hope I've said that right. Hi, lovely boys. I was wondering if, when you create a new character in a game, do you have a preferred sex to play? Not meant to be controversial, but I was curious, since my husband always creates a female because he likes the idea of being something he's not. And I just create whatever I feel like at the moment, although my initial character in a brand new game is usually female. Love your content, hope you're both doing well. I can't reread this message, sorry for any spelling mistakes. Okay, thank you, Carrie.
There were no spelling mistakes. It's all good.
Good. Well, so I think certainly for me, it depends entirely on the game that I'm playing. In certain games, I will sort of create myself, I think, but only sort of games that are set in the real world, and even then, not all games set in the real world. So something like a Tony Hawk's game, I would have made myself. Maybe even a wrestling game, when I used to play those, I might have made myself. But in the likes of GTA or Red Dead, I wouldn't make myself in a game like that necessarily. Mm-hmm. However, in answer to the question, really, when I'm not creating just an in-game version of myself, I don't really have a preference one way or the other. I don't always play male. I don't always play female. I find that, like, in certain games, I always play the same thing.
Stealth Archer?
Yeah, exactly. Stealth Archer, male Khajiit in Skyrim. Right. Always a male Khajiit for some reason. But equally, Star Wars Jedi Academy always play the female Twi'lek for some reason. I don't know why. So I guess, really, in answer to the question, no, I don't always play. I don't have a preference for male or female across the board. But within certain games, for some strange reason, I always play the same thing, even though there are many options available to me. So yeah, I don't know. What about you?
It varies. Like you, it varies. I think. Hello, there's a helicopter that's apparently going to land in my bedroom. Hang on.
I can hear that.
Oh no, it's gone. Not my bedroom today. It varies. I think, in my experience, especially playing the Soulsborne games, because I am going to play those online with friends, I tend to go a little bit outside the box. So because I'm just going to be playing with two boys, I do usually play as a female character.
Yeah,
because I think that's more. I think it's just fun. It's just a little bit of. There's no real conscious thought that goes into it other than, well, those two are playing as men, so I'm going to play as a lady character. Why not?
Yeah.
If I'm playing a solo game like Fallout, for example, to an extent, I want to be reflected in my character, and luckily, I'm blonde and have a beard, and those are my defining traits. So it's really easy to replicate myself in those kinds of games. It'll be very rare in a game where I'm playing by myself that I create someone to play as that doesn't look like me. Right. Because I feel like if I'm going to be staring at them for hundreds of hours, I either want them to look like me or I want them to look nothing like me, in which case I would go with a lady character. But usually I lean towards a male character that looks like me, unless I'm playing an online game where everyone is running around like a gruff military man with a beard. That's everyone everyone in the Division that you run into is a gruff military man with a beard. And not that I play the Division, but if I did, I would probably choose to play as a woman for that exact reason, just to be slightly different,
Yeah.
But there's nothing controversial about that, Carrie. I think it's an interesting topic. Everyone's got different reasons for playing as who they want to play as.
Well, yeah, like you say, you try and make a character that kind of looks like you. I wouldn't, as I say, I wouldn't necessarily do that. But in this, kind of in contrast to Carrie's partner playing a female because he likes the idea of being something he's not, it says here, I would, even if I'm not creating a character that looks like me, I think I probably do have a slight... I think there's more games where I would play as male than female, and again, I think the reason for that is because actually I find that easier to relate to. So I don't necessarily feel like I want them to look like me, but I kind of feel like if I'm gonna be role playing as this character, it's just easier for me to get into the mind of a male character. Therefore, there's probably a few more games where I would prefer to be as a male character than female. But yeah, I'm open to both really.
And if there's a game where you can play as like crazy races, Argonian is my pick in the Elder Scrolls games. Always go with an Argonian. Yeah, gotta love that disease-proof breathing underwater. Breathing. Yes, that's it. It was that 1-2 combo, and also looking a bit like a dragon. That was the fun for me. And everyone hates you. Everyone hates you.
Well, yeah, but also like I play as Khajiit because of the stealth that they have. They do a lot of sneaking and lockpicking and stuff like that. Yeah. And everyone hates you in Skyrim if you're a Khajiit. And they're not even allowed in the cities except you for some reason, which is never explained. I don't think.
It's because you're the only one who promised not to hurt their chickens, right?
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, guess so.
Well, there we go. It's time to move on. We're setting a record pace this week.
We are.
We just got this down to a fine art, haven't we?
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like I've been fumbling over myself for the past 45 minutes, but sure.
I think you've sounded perfect.
Thanks.
You're welcome. It's time to move on to the big... Where's the paper? Big discussion.
I've got him.
Big discussion time, everyone. We're hearing again from John Oliver, the host of Last Week Tonight. John, I'm not going to lie, when I saw this big girthy question you put there, I actually rolled my eyes and just said to myself, why is this question so long? It better be really good. And you know what? It was really good. So we're going to do it. Here we go. And I will also say, and I'm sure we'll clarify again after I've said the question, neither of us are mental health professionals. We're just going to be speaking from personal experience after we've read this question.
We are not qualified to be giving proper medical advice in this sense.
Absolutely not. So make sure you seek responsible assistance where necessary. Hi, Ben and Peter. Thanks for reading my question last week. I can confirm that I am not famous comedian John Oliver. However, I do work in health and social care. With it being Mental Health Week here in the UK, I attended a webinar where the focus was on positive and negative coping strategies during the COVID situation. Video games came up as a topic, with some seeing the benefits of video games as a healthy escapism, with Animal Crossing and Minecraft coming up as positive examples. However, there was a concern that people of all ages with or without mental health conditions may become over-reliant on video games during this difficult time and possibly develop fantasy-prone personality, or FPP, a personality trait in which someone experiences a lifelong fantasy. Then there's the worry of video game addiction, which has seen an increase worldwide this year. In short, the concern is that when lockdown restrictions are lifted, there will be an increase in regards to mental health cases where video games have played a key factor. I made the case that video games in moderation are a healthy form of escapism, and we should approach them as we did before we were stuck at home a lot more often. However, I was wanting your take as to where you stand with this. Obviously, you may have a bias, but I feel it would make for an interesting discussion. Thank you very much, John. Again, we're not medical professionals in any way. Take our opinions, our very biased opinions, with a pinch of salt. I will, however, repeat what we said when we talked about video game addiction when that was in the news, in that while you may scoff at it, just like gambling addiction, some people genuinely do reach a breaking point where they really do need help. Just because you play a lot of games doesn't mean you have video game addiction.
No, not at all.
It's described as someone who plays so much that basically their life falls apart around them. You know, they ignore friends and family, they lose their job because they are literally addicted. So we're not talking about playing a lot of video games, we're talking about actual addiction here, and that applies to video games, drugs, gambling, alcohol, all that kind of stuff. So just to put it in the right context. But I thought this was really interesting, Peter.
Yeah, it's a really good question, and especially given the strange times we're living in, as everyone keeps describing it, the strange times. Now more than ever, I suspect there are probably a lot of people turning to video games as not only just as a source of distraction and something to do with their day, especially if they've been furloughed and they're shut inside, etc., but also, maybe as an actual coping mechanism, a bit of escapism, a way to socialize with people over the internet, a creative outlet. There's all kinds of reasons why people might go to video games. And I think, as John says, there were people in that discussion that he was involved in that were advocating video games as a beneficial thing to engage in. And I think absolutely there are definitely lots of things to be gained from playing games, but it really comes down to, as you've said, Ben, the distinction between sort of addiction and just being able to play a lot of games and get something out of it and then be able to turn it off and do everything else that you need to do with your day, with your life, and do your life admin. I think if you get reliant on video games as a source of comfort or distraction, that can be a problem. That shouldn't be the thing that you're relying upon to help you calm down and de-stress. And you should have the ability to stop, I think, is important. And I think if you start reaching the point where you feel like, my gaming time is now starting to take precedent over. Sorry, precedent? What do I mean? Precedence. Yeah, not precedent. Over cleaning the house, cleaning myself, talking to my loved ones. That's where it can start to get problematic. And it really comes down to balancing the fact that you can get things out of it, but if you get too stuck in a rut, and that I think it's important to be able to check yourself and make sure that you're just using games in a healthy way.
Absolutely. And I think video games are so often portrayed in mainstream media as, well, they're demonized, really. They're scapegoats. They're responsible for all these horrible things. Thankfully, that attitude is shifting as, the population gets older who have grown up with video games, and more and more people are aware of them and familiar with them, and so on and so forth. So I think there's a knee-jerk reaction, and I think we saw a lot of it at the time. Are you going to turn off your car alarm? Or are you just going to let it? That's fine. I think we saw this knee-jerk reaction when the video game addiction stuff was first in the news, that people felt like it was a personal attack on video games, like saying, it's, but it's literally not that. It's making sure that such a thing exists so that people who need the help can get it. You're not being told to play fewer games. There isn't any legislation in place to stop you from enjoying your hobby. It's just purely from a medical position. Make sure the people who are genuinely addicted can get that help that they need. And I think that it's worth using that same attitude to look at this question and this scenario and the results of this lockdown and stuff. Just because you play a lot of games doesn't mean you're addicted, doesn't mean that doctors think that you're a bad person. These conversations, the kind that John Oliver, host of Last Week Tonight, is having with his colleagues in the health and social care industry, are really important, because even though they may be behind closed doors, the fact that these conversations are even happening in the first place is so important, because, again, it just means that the people who genuinely, sincerely need help can get it because they are taken seriously. And we will, if anything that we've described or John's described in the question sounds pertinent to you and your situation or someone we'll put mental health charities and support numbers and so on in the description so you can reach out. But I think it's, from my perspective, and I'm sure you'll agree, Peter, I think it's a really good thing that it is being taken seriously so people can get help if they need it. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And it really does come down to knowing whether or not, I think it's important to sort of look at your own behavior, especially sort of early on, try and catch yourself before it becomes a problem, which is easier said than done for sure. And again, reiterating, we're not professionals in this aspect. I'm not, qualified to say what you should and shouldn't be doing in terms of making sure that you're behaving healthily with video games. But yeah, I think, the ultimate question when it comes to addiction is knowing whether you're able to take care of yourself and your life in a larger respect, and you should be able to turn off your console if you know that there's other things that need doing. And it's important as well, like whether or not you think that you're in danger of becoming addicted to video games. I think it's important, even that aside, to have other outlets and other enrichment in your life, other creative outlets, other ways of socializing with people, even if it's over video call in the current situation. Or we're now allowed in the UK to go and to meet people under certain circumstances. You should go out and exercise and do all these things. So even if you're not in a position where you think, oh, this could become a problem, maybe I will become addicted to video games if I shut myself in over lockdown and keep playing. Variety is the spice of life, is what they say, I think. So
it's good to be mindful, isn't it? It's just be mindful of what you're up to.
Yeah, and try other things as well, so you've got plenty to do with your time, and you don't have to. If you're sitting at home thinking, well, I've done the dishes, I've eaten my din-dins, and I've had a shower, and now I'm just waiting out the clock until I go to bed at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or whatever. Maybe if you've got more than your gaming to do, if you've got other things in your life as well, that can be helpful. But if not, there's no reason why you can't just then play games for the rest of your evening. It's all about moderation and making sure you're just behaving healthily.
100%. It's okay to binge video games, all right? That's perfectly fine, but everything in moderation. If you are playing World of Warcraft from dusk till dawn every day, every week, that's probably not good. But if you're getting a few hours in every day, that's perfectly fine. Video games inherently are a hobby that's very time-consuming. And again, it's not a personal attack on you or your gaming habits. It's just something to be aware of. And the fact that medical professionals are talking about it just means that those who are struggling, perhaps in a way that you can't even understand or appreciate, will get the help they need. And it's not going to affect you at all.
In many ways, this won't be relevant to a lot of the people listening. They're
not.
Just never going to get anywhere near that. But that's a good thing in their case. And but as you say, for those who do think, oh yeah, that sounds familiar, this reliance and this so many hours going in every single day, it's good to know that there's things available for those people.
Definitely. It would be good if there's one thing that some people take away from this conversation, even if it's not this gaming addiction, this what was it that John described? FPP, fantasy prone personality, which I've never heard of. Even if none of that is even relevant to you, I think the principle of not taking things like this personally, as so many did, they saw it as a direct attack on video games and their hobby. Just understanding that it's there for people who need it, and it's not coming after you and your games. I think that's a really important thing to take away. If you had that mindset before, maybe just bear that in mind, that these things they're not there to limit your hobby in any way. Yeah,
in the same way that, a lot of us probably, to some extent or other, go out and do a bit of exercise now and then. You like to run on the quayside. There are people who are addicted to exercise and have to go and see medical professionals for exercise addiction. And it's exactly the same thing. There are things in place for people with exercise addiction. That doesn't mean that exercise is bad and that you guys shouldn't be doing it. It's literally the same. You just swap the word exercise for video games, and that's the attitude you should take. Just because there's resources available for video game addiction, no one's saying you shouldn't be playing video games. It's for those people who have a problem and need a bit of help with it.
Everything in moderation. But how good is Minecraft, though?
Oh, very good. Very good. And it is so relaxing, in particularly in these strange times, trademarked.
Yes, absolutely. Well, fantastic question, John. As I said, the charity, websites, and I think it's just phone numbers, actually. So the charity phone numbers, I'll put them down below, various countries. So check them out if you need any help or assistance. Our community is amazing as well. We'll tell you how you can interact with them very shortly, but they're all very welcoming. So if you want to be, a bit more involved in the community and chat to people, not necessarily about mental health, but just be around like-minded people who just want to play games and talk games, then feel free to come along and join in the fun, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do so at the following places. The content itself that we put out is at YouTube and Twitch. YouTube.com and twitch.tv/Team TripleJump, where we're doing videos and streaming. When we stream, we're moderated by Lob Rotovich and Cecil Prumps. Lovely people, very good. We've got social media, twitter.com and facebook.com/Team TripleJump. Luke Eldon looks after Facebook and also does a very good job of it. Yeah. We've got a Patreon. Patreon.com/Team TripleJump. All kinds of rewards. Ben will touch on some of those shortly. But you can ask questions on the podcast, etc. And get access to a special room in our Discord. You can get to that Discord at bit.ly/Team TripleJump. It's moderated by Jack, Joe, and Crimson Dragonfly, and that is the place where you can go and probably easiest place to go and talk to other members of our community. But of course, comment section and stream chats and so on, they're all there as well. But the Discord's always there, and there's normally a few people in there at all times, which is good. It's a nice place to be. The podcast, you can get an audio version at play.acast.com/s/TripleJump. We've got a website, triplej.mup, where we have a careers page and other things too. We've got the store and so on. And the solo live stream VODs are all available at triplej.mup/VODs, where we put all of our VODs now. In fact, that says solo live stream VODs, but we now put all of our...
I've just updated it. That's outdated.
That's fine.
My mistake.
Yeah, I just sort of read it without actually computing the words. But yeah, that's all our live stream VODs now go on that channel, including the joint Blaze It streams from Thursdays.
100%. Instagram, if you'd like to follow us, at @ThatPeterAustin, @BenPotter20. On Twitter, at @ThatPeterAustin, @confused_dude. We do lists every Tuesday and Thursday. Streams every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Thursday, we're streaming together on YouTube. The other days, we'll do solo streams on Twitch. And as Peter said, all of those VODs are now TripleJump.up/VODs, including the joint streams. Worst Games is fortnightly. Friday for patrons of a certain tier, Sunday for everyone else. It's not a Worst Games Ever week. There was one last week, though. Make sure you go watch it. Podcast is every Saturday, and we do have some new shows. I think we teased them last week. We ended up having quite a busy week this week, so we didn't get around to recording the first one. But there's a very, very, very small chance that that one was out this week, but there's a very good chance that there wasn't, and it will actually be next week. Next week we will endeavor to bring you a brand new show, and we hope you enjoy it. Please leave us a review on iTunes or your platform of choice. It helps. Something to do with algorithms. And yes, as Peter said, careers. TripleJump.up, there's a little careers button at the bottom of the page. The entries for freelance writers is now closed. We had tons of fantastic applications, and thank you so much to everyone. Hopefully you've heard back from us now, and we want to again just thank you for putting all the effort in. We did really strong response this time, the best crop of applications we've ever had, so thank you so much. And there's still time in fact you've got one day, I think, right, to apply for the full-time video editor job that will be in office as soon as we go back to the office in Newcastle. Peter can tell you all about that, though.
Yeah, there's a little assets pack available on the careers tab for full-time in-office Newcastle full-time video editor. So obviously during lockdown, well, it's not lockdown anymore, really, is it? Or whatever it is, whatever we're doing right now during social distancing and working from home, we're not going to necessarily bring someone in immediately, but we would like to get through the hiring process, and we can certainly start that person off remotely anyway. So you do have a day left. If you start now and submit, I guess, by Monday, some point during Monday, you'll still be in the pool there. But equally, we've had lots of very good applicants, and I'm looking forward to contacting one of you.
Oh, one of us.
Yeah, and keep an eye out on there as always. Eventually we may well be looking at bringing on more freelance editors, which is a more flexible role for those of you who are not based in the UK or not able to move to Newcastle at present.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, yeah, TripleJump.up, everything you need to know. It's all there. Thank you so much for listening. We've just got time to go over Peter's sponsor for this week. Tell us all about that really detailed ad read.
Yep, here it is. Cluck and Bell, which is I guess it's a kind of cockerel novelty cockerel alarm clock, or maybe it's a doorbell actually.
Oh,
yeah, it could be a door. Maybe it just says cluck cluck when someone's at the door,
like Senor Ding Dong.
Yeah, just like Senor Ding Dong. Actually, right down at the bottom here, it just saying tiny little text, cock-a-doodle-doo, it's time for chicken.
What?
Yeah,
but that doesn't help at all, because we already knew it was like chicken related, didn't we?
Exactly. Yeah, it must just be. I think it's a chicken doorbell. I think that's what it is.
That's got to be it. I mean, if you think otherwise, let us know in the comments. But you're wrong, so you'd be wasting your time. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week. Look after yourselves and stay strong out there. Right?
Yes. Strong yourself good.
Exactly. Think strong. We'll see you next week, everybody. Bye.
Bye.